my other main thought on this is, man, how bad did Howie Roseman mess up in Philadelphia? Like, how bad was this? This was a catastrophe for the Philadelphia Eagles. I understand at this point you're probably happy to have the basket case that Carson Wentz is, the major distraction in the locker room. You're probably really happy to have the distraction out of the locker room, but, I mean, just take a look at the last 2 months, the last 2 to 3 months for the Philadelphia Eagles. You you fired your Super Bowl winning head coach that didn't really necessarily deserve to be fired. The only thing that was wrong with Doug Pederson is that he didn't really like Carson Wentz, and that he wanted and he felt like he should have had more say or more control over the Eagles, over the team. And I don't really think that that's too much to ask for if you're Doug Pederson, seeing that you brought the team its first Super Bowl in the history of the franchise. So you fire your Super Bowl winning head coach, you hire Nick Sirianni, who is the former Colts offensive coordinator, who at the time you're hoping that he holds enough traits or enough similar ideals to Frank Reich to be able to fix Carson Wentz. So not only now have you hired Nick Sirianni, who in his introductory press conference looked like a complete, I don't want to say idiot, he looked unprepared, he looked terrified. He looked absolutely scared and unprepared for the job. He looked like a puppet for Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman. So not only do you have a questionable head coach, you fired your Super Bowl winning head coach. Now you don't even have the quarterback that you were trying so desperately to keep, and you have a $33.8 million cap hit for this upcoming season, because of all that dead money that Carson Wentz is going to bring you. And the Philadelphia Eagles were already over the cap. I don't know how much money the Eagles were over the cap by, but how is this man not fired? How is this man not fired? I am genuinely shocked. Like, this is a disaster. You've lost your franchise quarterback. You've lost your Super Bowl winning head coach. You've hired a coach that you can control. And who knows, maybe Nick Sirianni turns out to be a really good head coach. But you hire an unknown head coach. You have Jalen Hurts, who performed okay last season. I think he's going to be better this season, and he might actually turn out to be a really good quarterback in the NFL. But you have a one-year quarterback. You have no offensive line. You have no money to spend to fix the team. You have your first-round draft pick. I guess that's a plus. But, man, I can't think of another situation in the NFL, apart from maybe, like, the Saints, or we talked about the Falcons on the Front Office Frenzy segment yesterday. I can't think of many situations in the NFL, or besides the Texans, that are probably in a worse spiral right now than the Philadelphia Eagles are. I mean, this is a disaster. I genuinely had a part of me that thought, man, that cap hit for Carson Wentz is going to be so astronomical, I might not even trade him. I might even just take it up the butt, so to speak, and say, look, we know you're unhappy, but we just cannot financially trade you right now. Say, I'm sorry, that's the way that it is, because $33.8 million, I think that's I remember seeing that's like the highest dead money cap hit in the history of the NFL. Like, Howie, what are you doing over there, my man? What are you doing over there? It's just mind-blowing to me. So, the optics of what the Eagles are going to be looking like over the next 2 seasons is really dire for Philadelphia. I feel horrible for Eagles fans right now, and I know that city is tough to play in, and man, it's going to be a rough couple of years in Philadelphia. Eagles fans, tell me how you're feeling, because if I were an Eagles fan, I would be happy that Carson Wentz is no longer there and not being a distraction to the franchise, because I personally think that Jalen Hurts is going to be a fine quarterback for the Eagles. But the fact that we lost a great head coach, or the fact that the Eagles lost a great head coach, hired a potential a bust of a head coach in Nick Sirianni to try and keep Carson Wentz, then you lose Carson Wentz, then you have his cap hit on your salary cap, and you're already over the salary cap. Like, I don't think that it could get any worse than that. And again, if the Texans weren't the absolute dumpster fire that they are right now, I would say that the Eagles are probably in the worst situation in the NFL currently. I mean, maybe that's a little bit of an over-dramatization. Maybe that's a little bit of some recency bias based on what's just been happening. But my God, I mean, that's horrible. That is absolutely horrible. I can't the only saving grace is the fact that the Eagles just so happen to be in the NFC East, where the Giants are equally as bad. They got some more pieces, and I think once Saquon Barkley, if he can play an entire season, that will be fantastic for the Giants. But Daniel Jones, I don't think, is the answer in New York. You have the Giants that are struggling with David Gelman. I completely blanked on that name. I know his name. I just completely fluffed my words. You have Washington, who's probably going to be the best team in that division for a couple of years to come. Once they get a quarterback, whether they draft a quarterback in the draft, whether that quarterback is somebody like Deshaun Watson, if the Texans decide to trade him, I think the Washington football team is going to be in position to run that division for a while. And then you have the Dallas Cowboys, which, as long as the Dallas Cowboys are under Mike McCarthy, and as long as Jerry Jones continues to make dumbfounding decisions for his football team, the Cowboys aren't going to be that good either. They'll be probably in the contention to win the division, but they're going to be consistently disappointing, as they have been for the past 2 seasons. So even the fact that the Eagles are in the worst division in the NFC, probably the worst division in the NFL at this point, maybe apart from the AFC South at this point, there's really no light at the end of the tunnel for the Eagles. I mean, they have no cap space. They have no offensive line. They have basically no weapons at wide receiver. They have not drafted well. I remember doing research for the Eagles at some point, and they basically had drafted, I don't know, maybe that was the Lions. I remember they just have not drafted well, especially at wide receiver recently. It is a very bad situation in Philadelphia, and my heart goes out to those of you who are Philadelphia Eagles fans who are going through this tough time, especially EDP445. If you know who that is, shout out to you. Cheers to that. But that's my thoughts mostly on this trade for Carson Wentz between the Colts and the Eagles. I'm very interested to see and hear your reactions to this trade. I really basically got on the show today and said, you know what, I'm just going to spitball it. I'm just going to go pretty much off the top of my head what I think of this trade, minimal notes. So I am very interested to hear what you guys think about this trade as well. That's going to be that's going to be it for this bonus episode of the podcast. We'll have that up momentarily. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, thank you so much for the support. So on behalf of me, this is the Hard Headed Sports Podcast. Stay hard-headed, but have a nice day. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching this segment from the Hard Headed Sports Podcast. You've heard what I've had to say, now I'm interested to hear what you think as well. If you enjoyed this highlight from the show and want to watch more highlights from the show as they come out after the show's completion, you should definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you're interested in listening to the entire show in its full-length entirety, you should follow the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all very soon.